How's it going, everybody? Roseman here, bringing you a new deck list video. Today I'll be going over my deck list for the red and purple OP13 Gol D Roger deck. He is a 7,000 power leader with 5 life. He says if you have any Dawn cards on your field, one Dawn card placed during your Dawn phase is given to your leader, and if you have 9 or less Dawn cards on your field, you give your leader minus 2,000 power. Essentially what this means is until you have all 10 of your Dawn on the board, you will be putting 1 Dawn on your leader every turn, and until you're at 10 Dawn, your leader is a 5k leader. But once you hit that 10, he becomes a nasty 7. So the whole goal of this deck is going to be to ramp to 10 and start playing out big bodies, as well as having a big body leader. With that, let's dive on into the cards. We start with 4 copies of the OP13 Shanks. This Shanks says, on play, look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, reveal 1 card with a type including Roger Pirates other than Shanks, and add it to your hand. Then you place the rest at the bottom of the deck in any order. This is an excellent first turn searcher, late game searcher for cheap if you're needing to find certain pieces like your Douglas Bullets or Scopper Gabons or your Silver's Rayleighs for some rush. It can also pull the 10 cost Roger Red because he is a quote former, or he is Roger Pirates, so you can pull him as well. So we run 4 copies of that for some searching. Next, we have 4 copies of Douglas Bullet from OP13. He is a 4,000 power body, but he does say if you have 8 or more Dawn in your field, this character gains plus 2,000 power, so he can be a 3 cost 6k body. He also has a ramp effect. He says on play, if your leader's type includes Roger Pirates, add up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and rest it. So he does a bit of resting. He's a 1k counter, but he can become a pretty cheap 6k body once you get those Dawn on board. And he does help with getting that, so he's a very, very good one to see. Next, we have 4 copies of everyone's favorite purple card, Mr. Tube on Clay. 4 cost 1,000 power. On play, you add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and rest it. And then it has a when attacking, you select one of your opponent's characters. This character's base power becomes the same as the selected character's power during this turn. So this can become a very cheap swing, as well as getting another Dawn on your turn. Fantastic ramp card. You can get him to be something super big if you hold on to board. Otherwise, Bon Clay is just a big glass cannon. Fantastic card, but probably only going to get 1 swing off, if any, using this guy. But we do run 4 of him because of his ramp effect, which is just an amazing ramp effect. I recommend this in most purple decks if you are trying to do some Dawn ramping. Next, I run 2 copies of the OP13 Kozuki Odin blocker. He is a 5 cost 6k power blocker who says on play, if you have any Dawn cards given, add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and rest it. You know, another good Roger Pirates card. It obviously will ramp based off of just your leader's ability. And he's a good mid-range block body. So I run 2 copies of that just for that ramp effect and a little bit of that blockers. We do run some other bigger blockers in the deck, as well as the Uta we'll get to in a minute. But good one. I see a lot of deck lists not running this guy. I can't recommend him enough, because in the worst case scenario where you just need an extra swing, he's still a 6k body for a swing. Sure, you're using up a blocker to do that, but you know, a 5 cost 6k body is always good in my eyes. So again, I have 2 copies of that. Next, we have 4 copies of Scopper Gabon from OP13. He says, on play, if your leader's type includes Roger Pirates, you draw 2 and trash 1 from your hand, and then you add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and rest it. Very good in that mid to late game. You get some draw power. You can start finding some of the bigger pieces you'll need for the deck, as well as establishing a 7k body. And if you're not quite at that 10 Dawn range yet, he does ramp you some Dawn as well. Very good body here, and he's some 1k counter, so we do run 4 copies of him. Next, we have 4 copies of the OP13 Buggy. Very good early game. He is a 2k counter. He does say on play, if your leader's type includes Roger Pirates and you have any Dawn cards given, you add 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and rest it. Another good ramp piece for the Roger deck, as well as a fantastic 2k in late game. Always love having extra 2Ks in the deck just to get out of some extra swings. But the Buggy can be a very crucial piece in early game for some rampage if you're missing some of these other cards. So we run 4 copies of him. Next, we have arguably my favorite 2K in the entire game, Uso Hachi from Starter 18. 2k counter, he says on play, if you have 8 or more Dawn cards on your field, you rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. 3 cost body to rest a 5 cost body that you can then swing into if you need to get something off board. This is huge into emu matches. If you're ramped high and they are establishing blockers without using their 5 elders yet, or they have used the 5 elders and you just need to get some swings into their life, you can play Uso Hachi to rest one of their blocker 5 elders, essentially eliminating one of their attacks, or one of the attacks that they're just going to eat. Uso Hachi is fantastic for that. Plus, as a 2k body or 2k counter, he's great. I love him. I run him in every purple deck as one of my 2k counters. He's such a good utility 2k. Next, we run 4 copies of the Starter 23 Uta. She's a 6 cost body, 4k power, and a blocker, but it says if you have a character with 10,000 power or more, you give this card in your hand minus 4 cost. So for 2 Dawn, if you have a 10k body on board, which we're going to get to the big boys here in a minute, you get a blocker, and you can just run all of these out in a turn as long as you have that 10k body. Very good, cheap blocker, and it's a 2k counter. Absolutely love this card in red, especially with any kind of like Shanks or this Roger build. Really, really good there. Next, we're going to get into our non-counter cards. I run only 2 copies of the OP13 Silver Rayleigh Rusher. He says on play, if you have any Dawn cards given, you give up to one of your opponent's characters with cost of, or rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less, and then add up to 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active at the end of this turn. So this can be a very good on curve 8 cost rusher, because you can rest again in an emu match. You can rest one of those blocker bodies, and you'll add a Dawn, and then at the end of your turn, you'll get it as active. So if you have one of your counter events, you've got that. So he's really good. Obviously, being a rush body is fantastic as well. I only run the 2 copies though because I believe this next card is just as valuable a piece in the current meta as this is. So again, 2 copies of Silver's Rayleigh. Next, I run 2 copies of the OP11 Charlotte Katakuri. You know it, you hate it, but you gotta have it. Especially with today's meta, 8 cost 8k blocker. On the end of your turn, you set up to 2 of your Big Mom Pirates type characters with a cost of 3 or more as active, and then you add 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and rest it. Just as important as a piece is the Silver's Rayleigh, because if you're at your 9 Dawn turn with 1 Dawn attached to your leader, you only have 8 to work with. You can play the Rayleigh to get to your 10 Dawn, or you can play this to establish a blocker body, and at the end of your turn you'll get to 10, so then you'll be a 7k body on, or a 7k lead on your opponent's turn. Plus you're establishing an 8k blocker that can attack and restand itself. It's a filthy card, it's a great card. Unfortunately, I don't see a lot of people running this in their Roger builds, but I think he is very, very good in this. So we run 2 copies of that. Next, we run 4 copies of the OP02 Edward Newgate, 9 cost 10k. It says on play, up to one of your leaders gains plus 2k power until the start of your next turn, and then you cannot add life cards to your hand using your own effects during this turn. He also has a Dawn ×2 when attacking. You can KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power or less. So outside of your Emu matchups, you can put 2 Dawn onto this and KO some chunk blockers if your opponent's running any of those. I know like Zoro runs the Kyoshiro, and you're probably going to see some, lower cost bodies in any Rayleigh matchups you might see. So he can help you with some extra removal on that. You can swing into something and then KO something with this, or swing into lead and KO a low cost body with this guy. Plus establishing your leader. By the time you get this played, you're either you should be on your 10 already. So establishing your leader as a 9k for a turn is a very daunting number. Obviously, the not taking life by your own effects thing really doesn't apply here. This was more designed for the OP02 Newgate, but giving that plus 2k power to Roger is just absolutely wild. So we run 4 copies of him. You want to see that kind of consistently. He's great in those Emu matchups to raise that power up, because obviously a lot of those 5 elders are going to be on that 7. Talking about, dealing with some 7k bodies in the form of Emu, we have good old OP09 10 Shanks. It says give all your opponent's characters minus 1k power, and he's Rush. You run 4 copies. You're obviously going to run 4 copies of this, especially in today's meta. Establishing a big 12k body that lowers your opponent's character board by 1,000 and can rush stuff down. Always good. This is just an unbelievable card. If you can stack it with 1 or 2 of them on board, you have essentially clinched the game. It's not searchable because he doesn't have Roger Pirates in his typing. He's only 4 Emperors or Red-Haired Pirates. So we run 4 copies of that to try to make him more consistent. There is that draw power inside of the Scopper Gabon to try to go through some of this, but super, super good card. Again, you're gonna want to run a lot of this. Another piece, and I only run 2 copies of this, but we run 2 copies of the OP09 Secret Gol D Roger. 10 cost, 13k, rush, and then it says whenever your opponent activates a blocker, if either you or your opponent has 0 life, you win the game. This is an Emu killer. Emu relies very heavily on getting out of 2 attacks every single turn using its 5 Elder cards, and if you can get their life down to 0 early enough in game and they establish their 5 costs, you drop this and you ruin their day. You have a 13k body that they cannot block out of. Obviously, do the math with an Emu. They may be able to get out of the 13, but can they get out of multiple swings? You want to have a Shanks on board. You want to have a Newgate on board. You want to have your 7k leader. You want to have as many possible swings on board when you play this, because it's just whenever. It's not whenever they activate a blocker when this character attacks. It's just whenever they activate a blocker. Very, very, very powerful card, but very situational. So we only run 2 copies of this, and as you can see, he does have Roger Pirates in his typing, so he is searchable off of that Shanks. If you're not finding him and you need him, you're getting into that late game with Emu, search for him, hunt for him, take your life. You need to find this card. I've debated about bringing this up to 3 copies, but I don't have anything I really want to take out of this. I really like this list as is. 2 copies feels good. You kind of get the nerves when you're trying to find him at that late game. Next up, we run 2 copies of Divine Departure. It's a 0 cost event, has a main or a counter. For main, you would rest 5 of your Dawn cards. If you have any Dawn cards given, you can give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 8k power during this turn. If you're running into Zoro matches and they are running the OP06 Secret Zoro, this can be just an absolutely devastating card into that. But primarily, a lot of people you're going to see use this for its counter, where you trash a card from your hand and up to one of your leader or character cards gains plus 3k power during this battle. We run 2 copies of that just for that counter. But the main, like I said, it could pop up if you really, really, really needed to make sure you're going to get something off board, or if you want to discourage your opponent from utilizing one of their blockers that turn. And then finally, We run 4 copies of the Guess We'll Have Another Scrap. You can only risk death while you're still alive. The OP13 event. 1 cost for a main. You may rest one of your Dawn cards. If your leader is Gol D Roger and you have any Dawn cards given, you add up to 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and rest it. And then it has a counter. Again, for 1, your leader gains +3 power during this battle. Can be very good in late game if you need to get out of some swings. Obviously, if you're using that on your leader, it goes from a 7 to a 10. That is just kind of crazy. But using that in early game to ramp is good. Obviously, it's searchable off of the shanks, so if you're seeing those and you don't have them in hand, go ahead and pick those up to secure some ramping. If you can get everything on curve, you should get to your 10 Dawn turn pretty much 2 turns ahead of your opponent. If you can go really fast, like if you see multiple of these event cards, you can play multiple of them a turn. You're gonna get ahead of your opponent, and then you're dropping your shanks, you're dropping your Newgates, you're dropping your Katakuri, your Rayleigh, your 10-drop Roger. I mean, it just makes it an unbelievable match. This has been one of my favorite decks to play recently. Love the way it feels. Historically, I've kind of not played red. I've played a little bit, and I hadn't really found anything I like. But the combo of red and purple really just speaks to me, because you're a purple deck in the early game, and then in the late game you're really more of a red deck. So it's kind of interesting. You get that top end red, and then your early game purple for some Dawn manipulation, which is fun for me. The only thing we don't have in the Western format here right now is the promo shanks that we were supposed to start getting this month, the month of December, but unfortunately Bandai pushed that. I believe we're supposed to get that here in the West starting in January, but once we get that promo Roger, that one's going to be a huge piece for this deck. But with all that being said, guys, that's all I've got for you. Thanks for watching. If you have comments, questions, concerns, or just want to discuss the deck list, please leave your comments down below. I love to engage with you guys and answer questions or communicate, and we can just kind of have a back and forth about what does and doesn't work. But thanks for watching. See ya.